All right, and welcome to the third lesson in our 5-week homeschool course of art. And I'm so excited to do this piece and teach you guys this one today because we have some other fun new materials. I like to kind of mix it up. It's not all just about brushes. That is how we get this paint on here. And this is an abstract. Now, abstracts, people will look at this and they will try to create meaning. They'll say, oh, it reminds me of a forest, or it reminds me of a lake, you know, trees by a lake or something. An abstract really is just more where there's a lot of color that's dispersed. There's some intentionality. There's some linear lines and things that are put within it, but it doesn't have to actually represent anything in the world. And that gives a lot of open interpretation to it, and it really just kind of depends on what you see at the time. One of the things you can even do, like you can take this painting and you can flip it upside down and look, it looks completely different and it still works. So we are going to do this painting today. I also wanted to show that I have done another variation of this painting, so you can do different colors. I've done a just a black and white version of the same thing using the same technique. So if you would rather do more of a black and white only versus the red and orange, you can do that today. I'll let you have that choice, but it will be the same method and technique that we'll go through. So today we're going to need to have one big flat brush. That's how we're going to get in our background. So we're going to need one big brush. We are going to need some flaps of cardboard. So I like to keep my extra cardboard, and there's always one part of the cardboard that is manufactured cut and it's always flat. So that's, I cut off different sections of that and I make sure that I have one of those straight edges. So I've got about different sizes. I also have maybe some smaller ones, but I make sure that it has a flat edge. So that flat edge is what we're going to be using to actually pull the color down or up or put in some of these lines. And that's what you'll see as we do this. So that's the main bulk of the color. We're also going to use, and this is a ruler I actually made myself. I made a T-square, which is actually two plastic rulers that I hot glued together. That was to make a nice straight one. But if you just have a regular ruler, that's fine. We're going to use a ruler and a piece of chalk today to be able to chalk in that main line so that we do keep a nice straight edge. So that's a little tool that we have, but anything that's straight and flat, even if you have some more of that cardboard that you want to use, is just your straight edge. And then just a simple piece of chalk. Again, I said our colors, if you want to, you could do this red and orange one. That's the one that I will demonstrate, but if you'd also like to do black and white, you can. So you would just, I will tell you when you could use just black and white if you wanted to. I had someone that requested a black and white before, and that's why I did that one. I said, well, they look great both ways. So it really has just up to the person. So well, let's get started. I'm going to move over my example here. Let's see, you can see that. And then I've got my demonstration piece. My demonstration piece, this is an 8x10. The example is on 11x14. I find I can have a little more time to demonstrate and answer questions if I do it on a smaller canvas. And I'm running out of room on my walls. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with our large brush, and our brush never likes to be in paint dry. It always wants to be moist. So we're going to go ahead and dip it in our water and just drag off the edge. You'll start noticing we do this every single time we have a brush. We make sure that it's already moist. Mine's a little stiff from last time. I didn't clean it very well. A little tip, if your brushes ever get too stiff or maybe they got hard, you didn't rinse them very well enough, you can soak them in some rubbing alcohol, and that'll help dissolve some of the leftover paint that's within there, and it'll help soften that back up. I'll probably have to do that with this one later. So I've got my plate, we've got our plate, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get just black and white out for our background. We're going to need more white Then we will black. Black is a very strong color and it doesn't need as much. I'm running at the end of that one. I think I'll switch to a different bottle. So I'll get a lot of white. Also, being our first layer of paint on canvas, sometimes that will take a little more paint than some of our upper layers. So yeah, just some black and some white. All right. So to do this, we're going to do just kind of taking our brush, we're just going to kind of do a crisscross of stroke. We're gonna have it where it's okay to see the stroke marks. And if you see, it's gonna be a little darker around our edge, and then we're just gonna get lighter and lighter as we get towards the center. So first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna grab actually some white first. And then on the same brush right there, I'll just grab some black. So a lot of times I don't mix on the plate because then I'm painting the plate. I like to go ahead and grab the paint and put it right on my brush. And as I do my strokes on the canvas, that's where the paint will start to mix. And that's where I want the paint to mix, not on my plate. I mean, if we want to paint plates, we could, but I think let's paint a canvas today. All right, so I'm just gonna take this, I'm gonna start down at this lower corner and just start, see, I knew that because I grabbed a lot of black, it was gonna be really dark. And honestly, I might have even grabbed too much. I'm gonna have to grab some white for that. And then I'm just brushing it. Like I said, since this is so dark, I'm gonna keep this more on my outer edge and just start crisscross, spreading it around my canvas. Like I said, I kind of like where I can see some of the streaks. I can see it's not completely blended in. The more that you go over a piece where the color is, the more it'll keep blending. So it's okay if yours ends up looking more blending. I'm just going back and grabbing some just white with the dark that I already have on there. And I'm just gonna keep going kind of these crisscross. It's like I go back and down and back and down, kind of these crisscross little strokes. And yep, just grabbing more white again. It's starting to kind of lighten up. What I'm really trying to do, I may even have to rinse my brush. I want to try to get it to where it starts getting lighter and lighter as I get to, and I can put some more lighter on that darker spots. Yeah, kind of blend that in. So we're just going to cover this whole canvas with kind of this crisscross gray strokes. It just kind of gets in that if I wanted to, I could go back and get a little more darker color, and I could streak some of that back in. Any time that you're blending and you realize, oh, I think I kind of went too much over here, you can always go back and grab the opposite color. So like over here, it got a little light for me, so I'm going to add some more, just a little bit, touches of black, right? I don't have to do too much. Remember, black is that really strong pigment. Also, this is the time where if you're finishing the main part and you want to go ahead and paint the edge, you can just do it right along that simple edge all the way around. So it looks finished. It always is nice. You don't feel like you have to do anything extra. There's a lot of paintings where the edge is not finished and therefore you feel like you need to find a frame, or what frame is the one that you want. Now you have to buy it. Which one fits better? Did I get the right size? Let's not worry about that. Let's just do that. So you can see I've kind of just gone back with little touches, like we're talking, I can barely see the black on there. Just little touches of black to kind of make some different streaks and stuff. And maybe I'll keep turning my canvas to paint my edge. Sometimes I've forgotten to do just the bottom one. And then I can go back and like, how did I do that? I forgot, you gotta keep turning it. It's got 4 edges. You have to go all the way around. So I'm just gonna get that in. And it is always fine to turn your canvas any way you need to in order to get it in. You're done. All right, I'm gonna let mine sit here and start to dry. I'll rinse out my brush because I am done with that, and then I'll probably have to clean that better later. I will stop now for any questions. All right, so now we've gotten the whole background done, and actually I allowed a little bit of time for mine to dry. So mine is dry to the touch, a couple spots, as you can see, always happens. But what we're going to do now is we're going to use our ruler and our chalk to put in kind of the main line that we're going to pull all of these colors from. Being able to do this just gives a nice guide and makes sure that we try to stay more straight than just trying to do it ourselves. So for me, one of the reasons I like doing it with a T-square is that I can set it up beside the edge and keep it completely straight. Now, where we're going to be doing the line is interesting. In art, we don't divide things in half very much. And you'll notice this as we do other paintings. There is kind of a rule of thirds, actually, when it comes to art. Things are not perfectly divided in half. That's not what our eye finds interesting. It would find it kind of boring. So by dividing things in thirds, so if I were to divide, so this would be the half of the canvas. Just up a little bit higher, that's a third, and that would be a third. So we're actually going to do our line the first third of our canvas. So there's going to be less room at the top and more at the bottom, as you can see in the example, see? So we're going to divide this by thirds. There's a lot of times where a flower will be maybe more in the first third of a painting and not all the way down. It's just part of what an artist has found can make things very visually interesting. So I'm going to line up, like I said, I'm not going to do it right in the center. If you find the center, you're like, that's exactly center, perfect. Now, move it up some. So that's going to be kind of my third line. I'm going to take my chalk. My little secret to get it to a tip is that I have one of these little pencil sharpeners that has 2 sizes of holes in it. If you use the larger size, you can actually just put the chalk in there and sharpen it. So that's actually, this is just regular kids chalk that I actually sharpen. So I'm going to, on that third, just take it and just draw a straight line. All that work just for a straight line. That's it. That's all we needed. You might be able to see it. There it is, just a nice straight line. And that's just going to give me a really good guide so that every time I'm going back and forth, that I know that I'm going and starting from where it's straight. If I was trying to just do this every single time, I may end up dipping on one side or the other, but this is perfect. So if, like I said, I'm going to be doing, I'll be demonstrating the red-orange version. If you want to do black-white, you don't even have to get any more colors out because we already just have black and white out. So if you're doing the black-white version, congratulations, you got your colors out. For me, I'm going to go ahead and pull out some more colors. And let's see here. I'm going to pull out some yellow. I'm getting near the end of my bottles, but I want to get every single drop out of these as I can because I do not want to waste paint. And I'm also going to get red out. There we go. Now, I am getting decent amounts of these paints out. The reason is we're not doing this with a brush. Remember, we're doing this with cardboard. Cardboard, for one, it's not going to absorb it, but two, we're going to be kind of scraping it onto the canvas. And think, I try to explain it, think of more of like icing a cake, okay? When you ice a cake, we are, you know, you would you put icing on the knife, right? And then you would start to spread. Now, you're not going to squish down and really streak it. You're going to want to be gentle and make sure that some of that icing actually goes onto the cake itself. And that's kind of the same feel that we'll have with this paint using cardboard, is we're going to be gliding it on there, but we're wanting the paint to actually go onto the canvas and not just scrape it all the way off. Also, there'll be just kind of a lightness that we want to maintain. So I'm going to grab my first cardboard. Remember, like I said, there's always kind of if you've got it, there's a manufacturer flat edge to it. What we're doing is we're actually simulating another art tool that you could have, which is a palette knife. So this is a palette knife that a lot of artists use. It's metal. They use it to scrape paint. This is the economic home version of said palette knife. And I find it's a great way for us to use recycled materials, and you don't have to invest in an artist tool if you want to just test out this technique. So these are our artist knives, our palette knives today. So I'm going to come over to my cardboard, have a lot of space here to try and get to it. So I'm going to do kind of a scooping and kind of getting this color. Let's see here, maybe I may have to turn it this way, yeah, because this size cardboard. I'm going to load up some paint onto the edge of my cardboard. I'm going to show you just a second. Okay, so look at that. So we're using that top edge right here. You see, I can't use, any paint if it's here in the cardboard, farther down. I've got it right there, kind of built up. Like I said, think of it kind of like icing. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to come to the line that we drew with our chalk. You can see yours probably better than you can see mine, but it's there. I'm going to just stick my cardboard right to the line, tap it there. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to keep it kind of at like this little angle, and then I'm going to just pull down and then release. Did you see that? So if you're doing the black-white version, you're going to start with white on this. So this would be, your color would be white right now instead of the red. So next thing I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not going to go over that again. I kind of we want it to kind of filter out to be kind of like pointy. So if it doesn't go all the way down, good. That's perfect. I'm going to go right next to it. And again, I'm going to just push down and pull it. Okay? I'll show you different ways that we'll go back through and you can always kind of go back and maybe pull a little bit more, but I'll show you some other ways that I got some of those longer pieces. So it's kind of interesting, right? This is kind of taking cardboard and we're taking the paint. I'm going to touch this right here. My cardboard is so big, I didn't realize I'd only have to do a few swipes, but you can do more if you need to. So take it and I'll just streak it down. See, that one went a little less. That's fine. Okay. All right, we're going to do the same thing going up. Now, if you want to do where you're the one that turns the cardboard and you do this and you go up, you can. Or if you feel the downward motion is easier to control, then all you have to do is turn your painting upside down. So you can do either way. I like doing the downward motion, but I've also done the upward motion. Maybe this time I'm going to kind of start at a different spot, and I'll just pull it pull it down. So I'm making sure that wherever I start, I'm starting back at that line. We've probably covered up most of that chalk by now. That's okay. You can probably still see though where we've started, where our start line is every time that you're placing your cardboard back at the line, right? Line that up. That one I can tell I didn't have much paint on that. So this is just our first layer, so it's very easy just to go back and add that. Okay, so that's just our first layer. It's an interesting feel, isn't it? Very interesting feel. So again, if you're doing the black-white version, this is white paint for you right now. I've got the example of yours kind of hanging behind my head. I maybe put my head in front of it back and forth, but I'll refer to that one for you. Now, one of the reasons that we'll have multiple flaps of cardboard is because unlike a brush, we can't wipe this off or clean it. So a lot of times we'll have to switch out. With the artist palette knife, they would just use a rag and just wipe it right off. So that's the only disadvantage, I guess, with the cardboard, but I still think it's a great way to reuse, recycle, and have a lot of them on hand to do this technique. Okay, so let me check in with you guys, see how we've done on our first coat. So I grabbed another flap and I'm going to actually we're going to layer in some yellow. So we're going to do the exact same thing. The neat thing is that I'm not worried about this being dry because I might even end up with a little bit of yellow mixed with the red, and I might get a little bit of orange, which that'll look kind of neat. So I might try to offset or try to go to some of those spots where it's a little more open with my cardboard, but we're going to do the exact same thing, start at the line and then just do some pull down. So you can see my yellow is kind of just going in to the red like that. And layering, layering, layering. That's kind of the trick when it comes to acrylic paintings. People don't realize they want to do one little thing and be done and think it's done. No, 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 no. Another layer. Another layer adds. There are some paintings, oh my goodness, they take months because of how many layers that an artist will add. So this is just another layer. And it's breaking up some of that red that was right there. Oh, I turn it like that. To me, it looks starting to look like mountains. Isn't that amazing? Just something that we were just doing with cardboard. It's already starting to remind me, or my brain is trying to make sense of the colors and shapes. So again, we're just making sure everything's kind of coming from that center line. As the abstract, we're really kind of making sure that we're staying in the linear, having that linear, which means all lined up. That really appeals to us when it comes to these shapes that don't seem to make sense. It makes sense to us to have something that's very straight in line. So that's our. And again, I'm trying not to keep going over and over this. The more you go over it, the more the colors will mix. And that's when you'll kind of feel like you've maybe messed up. Oh, I did want to show you, if you want to, like over here, you see some of these that went really far down. You're like, how did they go that far? Here's the trick that I did with that. I'm going to grab my red flap again, because I forgot to show you with this one. But I'm going to get some color, and this time, instead of pulling it down this way, I'm going to turn, so the color's right here, I'm going to turn my flap, and I'm going to line up the top corner edge with the line this time and go straight down. Now this one I do need to make sure is straight up and down. From my angle, I might accidentally do it. But I'm going to touch it and pull it sideways this way. Do you see that? So this one was actually a little streak going this way. So maybe I want to add one this way because I would like to get some lower over here. So I'm going to take it, touch, and pull that way. I didn't have much paint on there. There we go. There. So if I want to add in some longer little streaks, I can go back and add some there, right? I can do the same going up. But again, we're still either going, that line is straight this way and everything else is going straight down or up off of it. And I can do the same with my yellow. I can add just a little bit that goes up. Like that. And that adds some more height. And people will think that maybe you streak that all the way down, but that's the little trick with the cardboard. Is you can even go back and you can layer the yellow right on top of the red streak, or maybe do a yellow one all by itself. Like that. So then I kind of have some extra little ones like that. So if you were doing the black and white version, you did some white, and then you could lightly, like with my yellow, you could lightly do some black, and then your third layer, which is us going to the black, will actually be you doing a little bit of white in just a little bit. So it feels like it's going back and forth. Basically, we're just layering it up. So we did some red, some yellow, and if you were doing the black and white, you would do some white and then streak in a little bit of the black kind of over top, kind of where our yellow is streaked. And now, I mean, this painting goes really fast. For one, we're not having to wait between layers. We're layering on top and letting the colors mix a little bit. We're using cardboard, so it doesn't even really have to dry much. So we are ready to move on. Let me check in with you and see if you're ready to move on to the next. All right, so our paint is still wet, and that's okay. We're going to add another layer, and this layer is kind of that top layers you can see in the example with the black. And the first thing we're going to do is I grabbed another flap of cardboard, nice and clean. Mine's a little bit smaller. It's going to give me a little more control. First, I'm going to dip it in the black. I'm going to get black here. And the very first thing I actually want to do is I really want to make the line very distinct. I want to really see that. So we're actually going to just touch using our cardboard all the way along the line and just make sure that we can see that line. So I'm just tapping it. You can see just all the way across, all the way. To get that nice dark line. If you're doing the black and white version, this is definitely, you want to make sure that this is nice. And this really shows the anchor that we've been doing this whole time of that line, right? That's where everything has been radiating from. So I'm gonna grab some black. Remember, black is a very strong pigment. And we are at the point of our painting where we have a lot of layers of paint and we need to be more gentle with our pressure. We're going to be very gentle and just kind of let this skim. It's not going to hit every part, and that's okay. We'll use our little side taps to get more color down lower on the painting. I did not streak the paint all the way down there. That's where I used my cardboard at the side, and I did a little taps as well. So this is going to be a nice, gentle, I'm not going to keep going over and over. We don't do a second pass on this one. This is kind of, we go to the line and we just gently pull it and we leave it. Just like that. I'm not going to go back over and over and over that. That's going to overmix and the black will start to muddy all of those colors. So it's very streaky. It's going to go where it wants to, and it's going to tell the story that the paint is wanting to tell today. So what's the story the paint wants to tell? I don't know. Let's find out. Let's streak that one and see what that goes. That's what that looks like today. Again, if you want to make sure it gets down to maybe some of these. You can turn your cardboard to the side and do the little tap streaks to the side if you want to. That's fine. But I'm not gonna, this is just a one pass and done kind of story on the black. Take that, oop, I didn't touch it, there we go. Whoop, like that. Look, I barely got any on that red right there. So I can go in, maybe do little side taps if I want. I'm not gonna I'm not going to keep pulling this down. So nice, gentle, barely touching, pull down, pressure, boom, done, like that. And we're going to flip it over, or like I said, you can always, just do it straight up. I do like flipping it over. The advantage of that, of pulling it down, I feel like I can have very even pressure. And we're going to do the same thing. Start at that line and then just pull it down. One pass with the black. And I'm going to make sure and really that everything is touching. I'm really tapping down and making sure that black line is anchored. I may even have to put out some more black. That is okay. I would much rather put out more than not have enough. Oh, okay, I want to show you. Look, even I just pulled a little deep on this last pass, and you can see I actually pulled some of the paint that was underneath it. So that's what I said when we need to have lighter pressure, is that if I go too hard, I'm actually going to pull up some of the paint that was already down on there. So I'm going to scrape that off. The good thing is that black is dark enough as it covers that. If we were doing a different color and trying to mix, that would be a little bit harder. If you were doing the black-white version, so you did white as the background, another layer of black, made sure you got that black line. This top layer actually is going to be a little bit of white for you. Just tapping some white in some areas and doing a nice little streak of white on the very top. Let's see here. So didn't really get, there it is, okay. And then I'm going to go back, like I said, I can go with the sideways of my cardboard in different areas. To get that. I'll turn that back around so that I can see what it looks like in my upward version. If I want to, I can tap some more. Make sure that that line is nice and solid. I see a couple places where the color is starting to come through, and I want to make it nice and dark and anchored. Really, that is about it. It does look different than the example. That's because every time you do this, you're working, for one, the cardboard, I will say it varies on, sometimes it's shaped. Trying to find the straightest piece possible is always nice, but you never know. And so then you just have to be willing to go with that. I don't know what this, that's new, that's kind of different. Maybe I'll put a couple little extra long pieces to incorporate that. Here, see, I didn't mess up. That's just where the cardboard, I did a little extra streak today, so it's fine. But this is a really fun technique. You can use it with lots of different colors. You can do it different ways. But that is our abstract today. Again, here I want to show, if you were doing the black-white version, you would see that you had some white, you streaked in some of the black, and then maybe you went back with some of the white over top of some of the areas. But still having a nice black line as your anchor is really nice. With this one, it's still the same technique, being able to pull your colors up or down and layering over top of that. So that is the black-white version. This is our kind of our red. A lot of people say it looks like a forest fire, or things are on fire and on a lake, and I think that's awesome. Whatever you see in an abstract is what it is that day. So I hope you have a great day, and I look forward for you to join me in the next lesson.